Hi, everyone. My name is Cloud Hunter. I am your host this evening. I would like to acknowledge our global team, technical director, George Wang, translators, Claire
All right.
Noret from Singapore, and Wei Hao from San Francisco, California. HighTea Anytime was created out of a SLP project by Lisa Wong as a community service to a local and global community by a global team of volunteers who are landmark graduates and others committed to this purpose. Our program this evening is being recorded to HighTea Anytime Cloud as well as Facebook Live. If you do not wish to be seen here, you can keep yourself hidden, even though we would like to see all of your faces during this program. If you have any questions, you may raise your hand as explained in the video, but your questions in the chat, put your questions in the chat or ask via our WeChat, WhatsApp, of Facebook groups. I also would like to let you know that we are now a nonprofit organization, and we are very happy to achieve that status. So now to begin, we have our host, our guest today is David Carley. He is did I do something wrong, David? Okay. So
Perfect.
okay, you were looking around. He
For the
has,
guest, I was looking for him.
yes, he is a guest, and he is an incredible, talented man who, through his youth to his adulthood, has created different jobs for helping people and nonprofits around the world. He is currently with a group called Pangaea Enterprises, and I don't want to give everything away. I would like to hear what he has to say. So, David, welcome. He is also a part of our group, by the way, and you've probably seen him as technical director in the past. Thank you for agreeing to be a guest on our show, your show.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I hope I can keep everybody entertained and enthralled throughout the time. Cloud hit it right a little bit. I've worked for profits and not for profits for a few too many decades that I don't want to mention. And I am now I am the founder and CEO of Pangaea Enterprises, which is a collective of boutique agencies, consultancies, and educational initiatives. The first company in Pangaea started in 2003. We are now 4 or 5 different agencies and 2 different nonprofits focused on arts and education.
So what brought you to this path of being inquisitive and seeking to, I know for your intelligence, you have to keep reinventing, and particularly with the pandemic, COVID-19, how have you survived in changing? Because you had this boot camp that you ran for quite a while. And could you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Sure. One of the focuses of our companies is team building, and it comes out of play whether we do executive and leadership development or specifically come in to do team building with challenged organizations. But our approach to team building is slightly different than everybody else's. We take people out, their teams out into the wilderness. Literally, that scene behind you is a good example of where we take people, where we take groups, their leaders, and all of their team out into the forest hand them a map and a compass, and basically tell them we'll see them in 3 days and hope they get out. Um, it's about putting them in an uncomfortable situation, and so while we do this outside or underwater, one of our excursions is in the forest. One of them involves high ropes that are about 100 feet off the ground, about 30 meters, and climbing a 20-meter wall or scaling a 20-meter wall, or being about 20 meters underwater. And we use these situations to help people expose what their issues are very quickly so that we can spend and dedicate our time to fixing them. The pandemic has created a circumstance where people don't want to gather. And while you're 60 feet of water with a mask and a tank and all that other fun stuff, I don't know a better way to social distance. It's what happens out of the water that creates the challenge, because people are very raw. And in order for us to achieve what we need to achieve and gain what we need to gain, we need to unmask. And if I'm putting people in suits to protect them and masks to protect them, I can't see them. Their coworkers can't see them, and it hinders the process. So what we've discovered now and been able to do, and our two main focuses are, I don't need to take somebody out into that forest behind you and say, here's a map, here's a compass, goodbye. I could just open up my computer and show them Zoom, and I get that same look of fear on people because they're unfamiliar with this and they don't know how to use these tools to build their teams, stay connected to their teams, move their work forward. So we're helping companies do exactly that and be connected and stay connected, be creative, lead the path. Don't wait for the new normal. We want the world, we want companies, we go into companies right now and help them set what that's going to be. There's no need to wait. Let's do it now. Let's you become that new normal. So that's what we're doing. That's where we're this. So our wilderness excursions have transformed into the wild west wilderness of the internet and virtual platforms to do this. So that's a bit of a change. The other changes that we have to do when we're doing coaching is we can't meet with people in the same way. If I'm coming to your business and you have 23 employees, when I come to coach you, I spend time with those 23 employees because I want to know what's going on. I want to know how your business is running and what the people are doing and how they're thinking and what their efficiencies are to helping you achieve what you want to achieve. I can't do that because we're all in different places now. So it is more of a challenge for me to gain a perspective of what your office life is like. I can ask what your home life is like. I can ask what your kids do, what your family does, what you do socially. But to see that interaction in work, I can't necessarily gain that. So there's a challenge there that we're working through because of that has been created because of the pandemic, because some offices the people aren't in their office anymore. And frankly, some of the businesses that we work with, I'm trying to get them to send their people home because they don't need to be in the office and they shouldn't be in the office. It's right now, they're not taking the necessary precautions, and why take the responsibility of getting someone sick?
Right.
So where you don't have to be in the office, I don't think so. There are enough people, all of the mechanics in the world, all the nurses and doctors and those kind of people, they got to be in their work. I sell insurance. I plug numbers in as an accountant. I am a financial planner. I literally can do that anywhere I have an internet connection. So I don't
Excellent.
need to create environments to make people unsafe, make people uncomfortable. I want to show and lead into a new direction.
Right.
And so we're helping those companies do exactly that.
So it sounds like you wear many hats.
Yes.
And yes. Just an idea, how many different groups or businesses are you juggling right now?
Well, I'll take today out of the mix because we added two more. And tomorrow we add another two, three. We're working with 16 companies right now, um, of varying different sizes. Uh, Two very, very large pharmaceutical sales teams that we're building a structure for them to stay connected and do competent building exercises in the virtual world,
Got
um, that they can then take to their downline of in the field sales reps. So that's a fun challenge. And currently I've spent, I don't know, it seems like forever, but I think it's only 3.5 weeks or 4 weeks in Washington, D.C., working with a think tank that works with 16 different legislators, federal legislators, 8 from each party, getting them to produce and promote meaningful legislation that is bipartisan. Our work here has been, here of late, has been just to keep common messaging and to kind of keep the fires down as low as possible while the election process continues, and goes on and does what it does so that it doesn't create firestorms. We are trying to promote a message of unity through these individuals.
Got it.
And we've been able to keep them mostly quiet. We've been able to keep them from starting or creating or feeding issues or feeding the issues that are creating divide. But what we haven't been able to do yet, and I bang my head against the wall every night, that's this big red spot here, is getting them to embrace their constituents and say, thank you for what you've done. Thank you for participating. We've waited for decades for this kind of turnout. And we know that the system is broken, and we know that this happened, and we want to fix this. And we're going to promise you that next time it will be better for you. And it seems like the most obvious thing, but I can't get these people to, go arm in arm out into the public and say that we appreciate you, and we appreciate you so much that we hear you, and we're going to fix this so that you can continue to do this and it's meaningful.
Right. So let's take a moment and have some tea. And let's open the discussion to anyone who would like to ask David any questions. Do we have any volunteers?
Yes.
And who's that? Oh, okay.
Dr. Wang.
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Wang.
Yeah, David, thank you for the brief presentation, and it's extremely interesting. And I want to ask this question here. What would be the top 3 traits that you want the team members to accomplish? Top 3 traits.
Which team members? My team members or the team members in DC?
No. People coming in for the training. Okay.
So what we want to accomplish, what we're looking to do, in that is develop the opportunities for trust, respect, and understanding. We work with groups and we understand and try and help them understand that this process isn't quick, and it's not an overnight process. Our training is 3 days, but we don't ever go into it thinking it's going to be one day, one training, and that's it. We make a commitment to a company for getting this done. But when we have our first training, we want everyone to be open-minded to the fact that we're going to respect everybody. We're going to appreciate everybody, and we're going to understand that we're all different and appreciate those differences. And then we work towards developing how we can really do those things and how we can move the company forward so that it can effectively and efficiently work together no matter what those differences are.
Okay, my ensuing question is this. A habit is, a behavior is difficult to change. Okay. Certainly, if this becomes a habit, okay. So if I'm 30 years old, I wish I've been doing this for 30 years. So how can I change that? Okay. What is your trade secret? May I know?
Sure, absolutely. The start of doing that is twofold. Number one, by our method of putting people in those uncomfortable situations. Um, Whatever the habit may be, it's going to, there's a great opportunity for it to change in the immediacy for survival. I've got to come up. I've got to have enough air to do the exercise. I've got to find my way to the next, what they don't know is the next piece of the map, or I've got to either get to the top or help someone get to the top. And whatever animosities or walls or barriers or things that are up there that prevent me from doing certain things and getting on certain ways, they're going to quickly be stripped. And now once I strip that, then I can evaluate what's causing it and how I can work around that and grow from that. So by putting people in this circumstance and forcing them to make a decision, I'm going to help George get to the top, or I'm going to let George hang out in the middle. I'm going to walk away. He could just dangle. I don't care. We've got to work that. We've got to fix that. We've got to get through that. And that's the process that we do. And why this can work and does work is because people quickly decide, well, if I'm forced in this situation to help either George dangle or get to the top, then why can't I do the simple stuff? Like help him finish a report or get him the data he needs, you know? And so we work through the challenges and animosities that are there.
Thank you, Dr. Wang. Anybody else would like to ask any questions? You can speak up, unmute yourself. Anyone?
Don't be scared. I'm not going to take you to the forest.
No, or underwater. He won't do that either.
Can I ask one more and I'll keep quiet?
Mm-hmm.
Since you mentioned that you have legislators coming for your training, okay, I don't expect any answers. Can you train them to be honest?
We try.
I don't expect you to give me the answer. Okay, so
we try.
Don't take it seriously, okay?
It is imperative that at this time in particular, because there's a bad rap, we want them to embrace the heat from the public and say, yeah, it's broken. Yeah, we messed up, but we're gonna fix it with your help. That's what we want. We want them to admit the mistake. We want them to admit the issue. And that is a very vulnerable, honest position for them that they are incredibly uncomfortable with. But it's something that's necessary. And if they're willing to take that step for the greater good of the people they serve, you know, then we can get someplace.
So I have, thank you, Dr. Wang. I have a question, David. What is the most pivotal experience that stands out in your life that changed your thinking, your direction?
Wow. Nothing like putting me on the spot. So there's a couple of things. I guess the first one, I would have to say that the first one happened somewhere thereabouts December 7th. December 5th, 3rd, 5th, somewhere in that neighborhood. A long time ago in a faraway place. I would say 1981 at Temple University. I had just completed my undergrad studies and I had one more final to go. And I had no way to pay for grad school. And I knew that I had to go to grad school to get my degree. I had no choice. I had 3 more years to go to get my degree. I had no way to pay for it. On December 9th, I was going to be homeless. I had no place to go. School was over. You couldn't stay on campus over winter break unless you were an athlete that played a winter sport. I was an athlete that played a fall sport, so I was out of luck. The Navy recruiter called me, as he had done every 2 weeks since I started school, and said, "Hey, I'm just calling to check in, see if you've changed your mind." And I said, "Well, what can you do for me? Because I have nowhere to pay for grad school and nowhere to live." And there was a moment of silence on the other end. And then he said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Quite." And he said, "Well, there's a recruiting office 3 blocks from campus. Why don't you go down there and I'll call the lieutenant and let him know you're coming." And I'm like, "Okay, you'll probably still be on the phone when I get there." And I went down to the recruiting office and enlisted. And 2 weeks later, I left for boot camp and spent the next 8 years serving our country in the U.S. Navy. That was probably the first real key monumental change. Everything up into that was part of life, and I'll chalk it up to that: good, bad, or indifferent. Going to school, I had one place in mind. I had one place I wanted to be. I had one thing I wanted to study, and all that worked out. But when it came time for grad school and I didn't have a way to do that, I didn't know what was going to happen.
Thank you. Shall we all have some tea?
I need a martini after that.
Your humor is incredible. Anyone? Oh, yes, we have Norman who would like to ask you a question. Norman?
Hey, David.
Be nice.
I'm the one tango you'd here, okay? Actually, I met David 5-6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Right? How many?
6 years ago.
Yeah, through a contact in New York. She's like an older sister, but not in a different race. And then she can connect very well with people in New York and the United Nations and so on. And I get to know David. And the first time I met you is in your, you did Madison Avenue office, right?
That is correct, yes.
As a corporate consultant. And then I find out that you really good in the swimming art. I don't know whether you're swimming away or swimming against the current. But anyway, that's how I get to know you, something with NCAA. I know you you're very generous because most of you know, if you know me, I have a project with Coach Shu Yiming in diving. So I find that David would know as a person born and raised in US, having went through NCAA, the college competitive swimming area training, and also in the Navy and so on, then I can learn something. And very generous person. But also I want to use Chinese here because I look at that post that we sent out, okay? So I say fix it person in Chinese called 烧雷大师, which I mean is like 我觉得应该是发复朽为神奇吧. Okay, so in this way, how do you describe yourself? How do you develop yourself from a Temple University student to go serve this country in extreme situation? Tell me as much as you can. Don't tell me something that I have to mute my mouth.
I never took the easy road. I was an athlete in high school, an athlete in college. I had been scuba diving since I was 14. I was a competitive swimmer, played water polo in college. So I had some skill sets that would be advantageous to certain things in the service. I was a bit of a free spirit. I was a good student, but I wasn't a good student. Meaning I did the stuff, I did well in the stuff, but I didn't have good habits in it. And I knew that if I wasn't challenged at this next stage, that I wasn't going to get out of it what I needed, and I may get in trouble. So I wanted a challenge. I wanted a challenge from the get-go. I enlisted for 4 years. It was a long term at that point, but what was standard. And I said, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to really contribute to what's going on. And, you know, there was that background threat of the Cold War, but nobody ever took it seriously because, quite frankly, you push 2 buttons and the world would be over, forget the war. So we knew that that's not what was going to happen and how things were going to be. So I didn't want to be that kind of soldier. So what could I do that would be cool, that would keep me out of trouble, and that would make a difference? And so that's what I did. And that was the path I chose. And I studied certain things. I got to play with certain things. I took advantage of my scuba diving and love of water and spent a lot of time underwater. I could do other things from, you know, my hobbies, building cars. And so I learned to weld underwater, and we used to build really neat stuff and then go blow it up. And that was my first chore. And then, you know, that went into other things and training in Florida and got me to go other places in the world and do things that no one ever knows about, no one ever knew about, but that kept the world and our citizens safe. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to take advantage of my education, my skill sets, in doing that in a non-wartime era, and be able to make a real contribution to what was going on. And when my time came after the second 4 years, I truly wrestled with what I was going to do. Would I make this a career, or would I go back to grad school and do other things? And, you know, it was a tough decision. I still think about it to this day. It's not for me to question whether it was not the right decision. Somebody else influenced that, as he does or she does to all of our decisions. I left, I went to grad school, and I've done what I've done since then. And of the same philosophy, I hope I've made a difference somewhere.
David,
that's all I want to do.
One follow-up. Just, I'm sure you go through some interesting and really, I would say, challenging, tough time when you are in a service to this country, especially in your position that you can only talk something about, not all. But what carry you through? Because I'm sure you're not an accidental soldier. You just, something carry you through the tough time of training. I'm sure also you get fulfillment out of it with your ability to swim and like scuba dive and all that. But what bring you through all that and then get yourself like blooming like a flower?
Through training, it was just my Irish stubbornness. I remember the recruiter saying, "You're too soft for this." I was a college kid. I distinctly every day I heard him say 1,000 times over, "You're too soft for this." And I was like, "Dude, you have no idea." And that drove me through the training. Once we got through the training, even though I wasn't a team leader at first, I had to work to that point. Because of the setup of what we were doing, we all knew our position. We all knew who was what, but when you're out there doing, you don't have any rank. We all have a job. We all have a responsibility. And the first and foremost responsibility was to get your team home safely. And that's what drove me after that point, was getting my team home safely.
Thank you, David. Shall we have some tea? So I have a question. When you left, obviously there was something that motivated you not to continue and make the Navy your career. What was that?
It was the relationship between the organizations that were supposed to assist our armed services in protecting our nation. There are places in the world at that time that they were fabulous. And there are places in the world, unfortunately, human nature is what it is, that they weren't so good. And I happened to be in a place like that, and my last mission, their actions jeopardized the lives of too many soldiers, including some of my team. I had turned down 2 commissions to move up in rank, because if I was no longer a lieutenant commander, I could no longer lead my team from the field. I wasn't ready for that, and they weren't ready for that. After this excursion, I sat with the team and I said, this is what we're facing. They're not going to pull us out. We're going to stay here. You know, we're back home to debrief, and as soon as that's over, we're going back. What do you guys want to do? And collectively, they chose to request other postings so they would not have to deal with what was there. The only way they would go back was with me, and there was a change. They weren't willing to make a change in those other agencies. So they decided that they were going to do the rest of their time somewhere else. And I had an opportunity of re-upping or getting out, and I got out.
That must have been the turmoil of making that decision and knowing what was right and what you needed to do, and to make sure that your team was protected and safe as well as could be.
For me, it was all about the team.
Yes,
First
exactly.
and foremost, we accept risk. We know what we're getting into. I knew full well, but I was going to take it before they. And if I couldn't put myself in that position, then I wouldn't want them.
Got it. Does anyone have any questions for David? Anyone?
I think Lucy has her hand up.
Oh,
yeah,
Lucy.
Yeah. Thank you, David, for giving us the speech. But my question is about what is the best improvement through this program? Since you are, I can tell, occasionally I can make time here, but you are always here. What is the best part you think through this program, through this foundation, and give you the most strength with or from, or that's what I always want to ask people. I know most people they stay here, they stay with the program. They're in interpersonal reason. So I want to, okay.
So what's created out of this has been from the get-go. I'll never forget the day that Norman walked up to me and grabbed me by the ear and dragged me down the street and said, "You're going to do this." And if all of you can imagine that, it's pretty funny. But here's the thing: what's here when Lisa and Norman came to me about what this was, it was apropos because what I saw was an opportunity to create space where people can openly share, discuss, reveal, talk about whatever communication stuff that mattered. And it was safe. It was a safe place. This is family. Good, bad, or indifferent. There's troubles, there's not troubles, there's squabbles, there's hugging and kissing, whatever. This is family. And when you come here, what was wanted to be created and what we strive to create and do is to create a place, virtually, real, whatever, where people can come and share openly, without judgment, without criticism. Their opinions matter, their thoughts matter. It's all of value. And that's what was important. And that's why I was attracted to it, because it's needed in the world. And more than any other time where there was such turmoil that nobody knew what was going to go on, nobody knew what was going to happen, here's a place where people can come together and they can share. And I've been through disasters. I've been through tragedies. I've been through bad stuff. And that's what's needed most, to get you through the bad stuff. Someplace where you can go and say, or laugh or joke or whatever. And it's all okay.
Well, we're about 5 minutes before closing. We could take one more question. Or is there something you see yourself in 10 years, David?
Let's talk about something fun. So, Pangaea was great to create. It was awesome to develop. It came out of an opportunity. It has grown into things. I want to see it grow. In 10 years, it's about the legacy of what this is going to do and how it's going to keep being. I'm at a stage in my life, knowing what my history is, what my family history is. I've tried to live a healthy life. It hasn't always been the best. I've dodged lots of bullets. I'm still here. But I can't honestly say that because of everything that's happened, that I'm going to be here in 10 years. But I want this to be making a difference. I want Pangaea to be continuing to make a difference. I want those guys that I literally fought with and now fight with still today, because several of the people that work for me served with me. I want them to be going, and I want what we've created to keep going and keep moving forward and keep breaking down barriers to success, no matter where those barriers are, no matter who they exist with. Our mission in Pangaea is to break down the barriers to success. And 10 years, 20 years, 80 years from now, I want somebody to be carrying that torch forward. That's what matters.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's not about me. Like I said, I don't know if I'll be here then. I've not thought about that. I don't think about that because I don't have the history that leads to that. But I want something of this to keep going and keep breaking down those barriers. It's not about me. It's about pushing that forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to interview you, because we now get an essence of, well, we have before, but even more deeper. And I appreciate that and your honesty and candor. That was awesome. So we're going to release the interpreters if they want to and have a discussion. I want to thank everyone for participating. If you have any questions, you can always put them in the chat section or on Facebook or on WhatsApp. And we will endeavor to answer them for you. I want to thank the interpreters, Claire and Weihao, and our tech host, George Wong, and our guest, David Carley, and everyone who has helped to make this happen. If it wasn't for you and the participants and the people who join in, we would not be here. Thank you so sincerely from my heart. So I will open it up to discussion.
参与 ，Yeah.
Anyone have anything they would like to ask?
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Claire. Thank
Hello,
you.
David. Yeah, I always enjoy like conversations with David. Simply because he is one of the few people who I can ask any question, and he can really like explain it in many different perspectives very clearly, because he's the type of person that I can feel that he did the work. He made the effort, so he's very clear about every question that we have asked him for, or I have for. So anyone, like I personally is in touch with David, so if anyone still want to ask him any question, like coming out of nowhere, like please ask him.
Claire 是我们的那个在新加坡的在地球另一边的翻译他说的是每次跟 David 见面问他一个问题，他都可以很轻松的用自己经历的不同的角度去把它阐述出来有一个好的答案，而且是没有什么压力的跟 David 对话，所以你们鼓励要跟 David 谈一下，什么事情都可以如果是国生或者是你们想用中文问我，也可以给你翻译一下。
David, this is not a question. I just want to thank you personally for serving our country. That's all.
My pleasure.
我感谢你这个为我们的国家服务，作为军人。
And I would like to thank you for your contribution to our world, David.
And we have another participant who would like to ask a question. From
Xiaomei?
Yes, Charmaine. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi.
I'm sorry.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Good to be back. It's been like 2 weeks, right? I really wanted to participate, but because of the timing, so I couldn't. David, it's really great to see you again. I've always wanted to commend David because I don't know whether everybody else noticed. He and I think one of the few non-Chinese in this room. So I really appreciate. Sometimes it can be very difficult, feeling not as same as others. So at least on that note, I really commend David for being here, and also because David, I don't know whether you have already taken the landmark. If you haven't, that's another thing I want to commend you, because even though you haven't taken that one, but you stick to helping this forum to keep it going. That's also very difficult. I really appreciate your effort. So it's not so much about a question. If I have a question, I want to ask you in private. But this is just to say I missed everyone. I missed David in particular. That's it.
小妹刚才说我有机会回来了，但是最重要是跟 David 每次见面我就现在就想谢谢他 因为他是这里头几个不是华人或者是
我来自己说吧，我觉得 David 真的不
易。
容易，因为在这个屋里基本大多数都是华裔，不管是在美国的、在北美的，还是在其他地区的，我们都是说普通话的，长得也都是亚洲人的样子。像他，还有刚才那位女士，都是真的就是很少的非华裔这个面孔的人。我们都希望在一个相对比较熟悉、大家感觉很亲切的一个环境中工作和生活。那作为他来讲，他又没有上过 Landmark， 然后他还仍然在这个大家庭中在做贡献，我就从这一点上来，就真的非常非常不容易。我就是想感谢他仍然坚持在这里，所以我希望每一个人都能够向他学习，为这个因为这个论坛从疫情开始到现在真的不容易。虽然我没有在 production team， 但我完全能够体会作为 production team 能够把这个东西一直坚持到这会儿有多么多么的不容易。我们每一个参与了这个，然后并且在这个活动中受益的人都应该感谢每一个参与这个 production team 的成员，特别是像 David 这样非华裔的我就想强调这一点。谢谢大家。
我们刚才另外那个主持是 Cloud 是在 San Jose，
Cloud
他
对
就是
，sorry
住在那个 Redwood Forest 的地方啊，在那边有很多很大的红木或者神木，以后有机会去那边 hiking 啊。
Yeah, Cloud also, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Sharpay. Thank you for your question, acknowledgement of David. Yes, he brings a calmness and a strength that we need. And I'm very blessed to call him a friend. And I've met many people here who are friends of mine. It's very special. Yeah. So anyone else?
I see that Tony has put a question in there
Okay.
asking about what I've done recently. Yeah. What I've done recently. So I don't even know. I've worked with a couple of different companies, helping them grow, helping them literally get off the ground, started to be companies. I have contributed to the creation and patent of a new LED product that's used in digital signage. As a result of that, I suffered an injury and designed and working towards patenting a boot to help people who have hurt their Achilles tendons heal, because there isn't anything out there new or different or better than there was 30 years ago, and it kind of disgusted me. So I've done those two things. I've helped a company, a tech company, a medical tech company, prepare for funding. I'm in the process of helping a second medical tech company get funding and get its messaging straight. I have tried unsuccessfully to find tech for a secondary health provider for people, but I'm still working at it. So that's where I've been lately in business, trying to do things and help growth and help keep things together. Outside of that, it's participating in opportunities like this and other things to get people together and work through this time. And I've created and been part of. I've created helped a networking group grow to 3 different territories and bring people together. And I'm helping, hopefully, a construction company develop a training site, virtual training site, and opportunities to hire veterans to help people recover from natural disasters.
Awesome.
So David 那个我很简单讲讲他跟很多生意有关系啊，巨业 enterprise 有关系很多的医疗公司不同的方面然后他自己也觉得有像这个脚跟那个脚受伤的时候 你要做那个我们中国人叫打石锅，美国人有一个 cast， 他觉得那个 cast 很不方便，每个人都变成一个大象的脚。他现在在发明一个已经发明了一个很简单的那个脚的那个这个受伤的时候那个去复健的那个 cast，然后他还在帮一些公司在巩固自己，尤其是现在有一个那个在 construction 就在那个建筑的公司能够可以做一个特别的培训，可以把军人美国的军人那个先前是美国的军人能够重新在他保卫这个国家或战场上退伍下来的时候，可以受到培训，融进这个社会等等等等。所以 David 是很多才多艺的，所以我叫发富小回神奇哈，这个是我加进去的。OK。
Thank you, Tony.
谢谢 Tony.
So, should we?
I want to also spend maybe a minute to acknowledge David in echoing what Xiaomei said, that it takes a lot and takes a unique individual like David and Cloud to be not a Chinese, to be in our HighTea community and even serving in a capacity for David, in David's case, being the executive director for our HighTea nonprofit is a tremendous contribution to our community. And I acknowledge you, David, for your big heart and your compassion to support this community as something that you see the vision beyond our community for the world to facilitate our intercultural communication and appreciating our differences across culture, just as a overall contributing to humanity, our human family. So I really touch and inspire and moved by you every time when you grace our platform with your presence. So thank you, David, for your contribution. And thank you, Cloud.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you also, all of us, because it does make this happen, is this of coming together and being appreciative and acknowledging everyone, that if it wasn't so, it would not be so. So thank you, everyone, for participating.
And Cloud, I would love to hear your lovely English. I would like to hear, because you have so much Chinese friends, to lovely Chinese. But can I steal a minute of time? This is important. Because
one
I
moment,
see a friend.
just one moment. I have one announcement to make. We will not be here next week because in America it is Thanksgiving holiday, and so we will be back December 3rd, which is a Thursday, with a new guest, and so it's a surprise.
Well, I'm gonna break the surprise. I want all of you to come back, and you don't want to miss it because our special guest is Cloud. So please join me to really celebrate Cloud's life and really get to learn from her life experience, her rich life experience that will really enrich our life by really get to hear from her. So I invite all of you to come back here after Thanksgiving week.